Hey guys, I'm sitting down today with Nicki Fuller. She is the CEO of the Oklahoma Association of Electric Cooperatives, right?
You got it right.
All
Yep.
right, good. Well, Nicki, thanks for sitting down with me.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.
You bet. Well, tell us a little bit about your background before we jump into electric cooperatives and what
Sure.
that is. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I was born in a little town in Missouri called Marshfield on co op lines, Webster Electric. And I graduated with my undergrad degree in political science from Missouri State University. And then I went to the University of Tulsa College of Law, where I specialized in energy law. Mainly because I like the teacher, not really knowing that this is what I was going to do for a living. While I was in law school, I ended up working for a part of the Department of Energy called the Southwestern Power Administration,
Okay.
which markets federal hydropower to 6 states in the Midwest. And I worked in the Tulsa office, and I did a stint in the DC office at the Department of Energy headquarters, and really fell in love with the politics side of it, and the part where we were doing something to help, as opposed to just what a normal, what I would consider bureaucrat government worker would do. We were actually helping people, and I really fell in love with that. And then the opportunity came up to work for an entity called the Southwestern Power Resources Association, which was a trade association for the federal hydropower customers in the Midwest. So I did that for 11 years, and we represented those interests in Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, and Arkansas. And then after doing that for 11 years, this job opportunity came open, and I had always known OAEC and known the electric cooperatives in Oklahoma, and knew if I had the opportunity to work for such a wonderful organization and group of people, I would jump at it. And so I got the privilege and honor of coming here to be the CEO in April of 2025.
Okay. So you've been at about a year now?
About a year. Yep.
Okay. And you office in Oklahoma City?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, why don't you tell us maybe a little bit about where our power comes from, the differences in what investor owned and then electric co-ops.
Sure.
What's the history there?
Yes. So the history is a great one. And I think it's really telling as we sit here in this room, surrounded by artifacts. The history of the electric cooperatives in Oklahoma really started in 1936, and that's when the Rural Electrification Act was passed and signed into law by FDR. And that act said that the people here in Marlow and in rural areas deserved power just like the people in the cities did. So most of the cities and the cities here in Oklahoma were electrified, but most of the rural areas were not. And so with this act, they provided loans for people to band together and create electric cooperatives so that they could build infrastructure and provide electricity to farms that wouldn't otherwise have them. And these were the areas that it was not economical for an investor-owned utility to come in and serve them. But these people deserve the power anyway. They deserve the same opportunities as the people in the cities did. And that's really how we were born. And that's really the mission that we've kept to this day. The electric cooperatives in Oklahoma serve 93% of Oklahoma's land mass. So we're in all 77 counties. So there are a lot of areas of Oklahoma that were not going to be served if the electric cooperatives didn't come in and do it.
Right.
And I think it's a great story too, because I think it really shows the spirit of Oklahomans. You know, somebody wouldn't come in and provide power for them, so they said, we're going to band together and we're going to do it ourselves. And I think that's just such a great story of how we came to be. And that's something that we continue to do to this day. We are made up of the farmers and ranchers and citizens of rural Oklahoma. And we govern ourselves. We provide power for ourselves. We are self-sufficient. And that's what makes us different. And that's what I really appreciate about the cooperatives in Oklahoma.
It's hard to imagine life without power.
It really is.
I can't imagine. And if we want to invest in or stay in our rural communities, we had to have, or we'd all move to Oklahoma City. If we didn't have power, access to power, right? And even clean water, we don't think about those things. Roads, bridges, power,
Yes.
water. So back then, how would the cooperatives, or there just as many then? How were they set up, and where did they get their power from?
Yeah. So the first cooperative was formed right after the REA was passed in 1936. And then the last one was formed, I believe it was in 49. So that's when the creation
around that
period started. Yes. So they've been around that long, and there are 30 different cooperatives in Oklahoma, 3 what we call generation and transmission cooperatives. So they produce the power, and then 27 distribution co-ops. So they provide the power to the citizens. So from the beginning, those G&Ts, or generation transmission cooperatives, have been the one that generate the power. In Oklahoma, we have KMO Power, which is in the northeast. We have Western Farmers Electric Cooperative, which is in the most of the western part of the state. And then out in the Panhandle, we have Golden Spread Electric Cooperative, which is located in Amarillo, Texas, but has one distribution co-op in Hooker, Oklahoma.
Okay.
And they are the ones that produce the power and transmit the power to the other 27 distribution co-ops, and then they send it to the member at the end of the line.
Yeah, I think in our area, we get most of ours from Western farmers, right?
That's correct. Yes. With Cotton Electric and Rural Electric, you get all of your power from Western farmers.
The like co-op or rural electric cooperative that's in our area, they don't actually produce their own power. They're buying it from Western farmers.
That's correct.
And then Cotton Electric or REC would take it to the residents. They're the sales end of it.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
That's absolutely correct.
And then the cooperatives, like you were saying, they're all member owned, right? Like,
Yes.
I'm a member of Cotton Electric.
Yes.
So I have a ownership in there, and I get, a little dividend check every year or something, I guess. But
That's right.
those are member owned, and then the directors and I guess all the officials of the business is elected by the individual members.
That's right. Yes. That's another difference between us and the IOUs. We are governed by the communities in which we serve. So there is a board of directors that governs all of the distribution co-ops and all of the G&Ts as well. And the board of directors is elected from different districts within the service territory of the distribution co-op. So it's a democratic process. They are elected from the members themselves, and they are governed by the members themselves. So there are no shareholders. We are not for profit. There is no profit motive. If we make more money than we need, like you talked about, you get what we call a capital credit, returned to you each year, or it might be used for making upgrades to the system to maintain reliability if needed. But we work on a not-for-profit basis and are not motivated by profits. We commonly use the phrase that we put people over profits, and that's really where our mindset is, because we are governed by our members themselves.
Members run the show, kind of.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is that set up the way the hierarchy or of the co-ops? Is that a statute of some kind, or is that just how the members elect for that business to be ran or the co-op to be ran?
It was not the statute at first, but that has transformed into a way that all 900 co-ops across the country do it today.
Okay.
So it's what we always saw as the right thing to do, because we were members banding together to create this electrical network. Then we should be governed by those members. So it is the way we do it across the entire country now.
Okay. And are the co-ops, do they fall under the Corporation Commission in some way, or?
That's a great question, and one we get often. The co-ops used to be under the Corporation Commission. There was a law passed in 1971 that said, we recognize that co-ops, you are governed by your members, and your members should be the one that determine what is best for your community and your area that your co-op serves. And so if you would like to get out from under the commission and have your board be your sole regulator for rates, you can do that. And so all of our cooperatives have done that except for 2.
Really? Okay. So in the difference in like a PSO or an AEP or whatever, or OG&E, they're investor owned and they fall under Corporation Commission?
Yes, they do.
But the co-ops are basically self-regulated.
That's right.
How do the territory lines, is it kind of an agreement if, Cotton Electric wants to go into a certain area, or REC, do they work together, or is there someone that?
Between co-ops, they work together. But we do have distinct territory lines.
Okay, there's
And then if it is a load that's over 1 megawatt, we have a rule here in Oklahoma that allows that to be competitively bid.
okay.
So it can go to a co-op, it could go to an IOU, whatever that particular entity wants.
So this would be like a big business or manufacturing facility that comes in.
That's right.
Okay. And as far as where Western farmers the produced, does it go into a one market or is it individually made just for Cotton Electric or just for REC? Is the Southwest Power Pool? Is that what you call it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Kind of explain that whole system.
Sure. So the Southwest Power Pool is what you call a regional transmission organization. And that started in the 90s as a way to ensure reliability across the country for electricity, the electric grid. Before that, when Western Farmers and KMO and Golden Spread have been around for a long time. So before that, the power was produced specifically for the co-ops and sent directly to the co-ops. After that, the rules look a little different. So for Western farmers specifically, they are a member of SPP. And so they still generate their power for the benefit of the co-ops, their co-ops. But if they need more, they can buy it from the market, or if they produce more, they can sell it into the market. So they look at, what is the cost of the market power at this moment? Does it make sense to generate or buy from the market? So they have more opportunities. Golden Spread, which is the one that's in Amarillo, Texas, they are a member of SPP and also a member of ERCOT, which is the grid in Texas. So they have both of those markets that they deal with. And then KMO, which is in the northeastern part of the state, they're also an active participant in several markets, but they are not a member of SPP. They have decided that they want to remain independent, and that's what works best for their part of the country and their generation sources. So they produce specifically for their members, but they can also buy and sell from the various markets that they participate in.
I got you. Is most of our power in Oklahoma natural gas fired, coal fired, solar, wind? How does it distribute like that?
So for the co-ops, it's primarily natural gas at this point. We are lucky to have a wide variety of different generation sources, and that helps with reliability. So we have wind, we have solar. We recently, Western Farmers just broke ground on a battery storage facility at their Skeleton Creek in northwest Oklahoma. But currently, all three G&Ts are building natural gas, and they feel that that's what's best to provide power for their co-ops going into the future. KMO also has some coal units that they still utilize as well. So we really have a mix of everything. And then, as I mentioned earlier, KMO and Western Farmers get a very large allocation of federal hydropower as well from the Midwest. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, around here, hydropower is not much, but the further east and north you go, right, there's a lot more hydropower.
There is.
So what is
yes.
it, the GRDA? Is that how and some of those?
The Grand River Dam Authority is a state-owned facility, so that goes just for municipalities. But the lakes that the Army Corps of Engineers owns and has hydropower on in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, and Texoma in Texas all benefit the KMO and Western Farmers.
Okay, yeah, so like Lake Eufaula. And,
That's
yeah,
right.
the Denison
Keystone,
area. Okay.
Denison, over in Arkansas, Beaver, Bull Shoals, Table Rock in Missouri. All of those also benefit our co-ops here in Oklahoma.
What percentage is it hard to get a percentage? Would you say, like for our area, is natural gas, did you say it's a majority?
It's the majority at this
60,
point.
70%, and 10% solar, 10% wind. Is it hard to tell because does it all feed into one?
It's hard to tell because of own generation, I would say it's at least 50%, but of what's actually utilized because of purchases on the market, it's hard to give that. Some days you might see SPP have 60% of their power's wind because it's a good wind day.
Right.
And then the next day you might see it's 20%. So that's really where having the variety of generation resources
Sure.
really benefits the co-ops because, when the wind is blowing, it's great. When the wind's not blowing, you got to have something else there to make sure the lights stay on.
So from generation to like the end user, how are rates set? Produced rates, and then like your retail rates, or what would you call that? How are those set?
Yeah, great question. So the G&Ts set a rate, and again, everything we do is not for profit. So there's no profit margin set into this. We use cost-based rates. So the G&T will set a rate for, what was the cost of, the debt for building this asset, the fuel source, whatever, gas, coal. With wind, you don't have fuel source charge, et cetera. Staff charges, everything else associated with it. And they'll set a specific rate. They'll send that to the distribution co-op. Transmission charges for sending it, also in the G&T rate. They'll send it to the distribution co-op and say, this is your wholesale power rate. And then the distribution co-op will add their specific charges for how much it costs for them to have their distribution lines to the end user, their vegetation management, their staff charges, their cybersecurity charges, any charges that they have associated with it, they'll add that to their wholesale power rate, and then they'll give that to their member, and that's the bill at the end of the day. And then, like I said, if at the end of the year they look at their costs, and if they have collected too much, they'll either issue a refund to the members, which is not something you see in the for-profit world, or they'll use that money to, go in and reinforce their system, change out poles that need to be changed, put in, better technology for specific pieces of their equipment.
Okay. Yeah. I went to REC's annual meeting in the fall. I think that's where we met originally.
Yes.
And listening to Gary and them talk about, the cost of poles, the cost of trucks, all these input costs that you don't think about when you see your electric bill. And then even from billing to wireless meters and
Oh, yeah.
all these things, and from the lines and the underground, and what that vegetation control, if they're doing good preventive maintenance up front, then when there's emergency or weather, right, you don't have the cost of repairs later. I think most people don't see that when they get their electric bill.
We don't. I'm guilty of it as well.
Sure.
You just turn the light on and expect it to be there.
Yeah.
And why is it going up? This is crazy. But, as we've looked at our costs of service, there's really a lot of factors that have gone into why things are raising. And, I know everybody attributes, since COVID, but truly since COVID, we have seen prices increase dramatically. The cost of just poles is up 80%.
Wow.
The cost of a transformer is up to almost 120% more than what it used to charge or used to cost. And what might be a 6-month waiting period is now like a 40-month waiting period.
Wow.
to get these pieces of equipment. So you have to order earlier. It's more expensive. You have to have more inventory on hand, which costs more money.
Sure.
Because the waiting period is
You couldn't get it if you needed it.
Yeah, exactly. It's so long. And there's a variety of factors for that. Supply chain issues is always a big one, but everybody's building right now. Everybody's building generation. And so what was already a constrained supply chain is getting taxed even more because everybody's trying to build generation in this moment in time. So prices, the cost of materials, the cost of doing business has just gone up exponentially since 2020. And, we as the co-ops, we're every day looking at how can we contain costs? How can we make sure we are not passing this on to our member? How can we do this as responsibly as possible, but also replace the poles that need to be replaced, and build the new neighborhood that needs to be built, and make sure that the new business is able to come into an area and bring that prosperity to one of our rural communities. And it's a delicate balancing act, but it's the thing that keeps us up at night. How can we do this in a way that doesn't cause a burden to our members?
Yeah, I think we take for granted, and really, I guess I haven't really noticed like you said, the inflation of everything since COVID. But really, my electric bill, I don't know that it's gone up a whole lot.
Oh, we'd love to
I mean,
hear
really,
that.
but we do take for granted that when we turn the lights on, we flip the switch, it's going to be there,
Yep.
and that if lightning strikes or an ice storm, that somebody's going to be out there fixing it within an hour,
Yes.
and that costs money.
It does.
And they have to be prepared and have the equipment they need. Even those service trucks, those boom trucks, I'm sure they've doubled in price
They have
since COVID.
they have dramatically gone up, and then time to get them
Yeah.
is a lot longer as well. So yeah, bucket trucks are hard to come by these days.
They have wages have gone up,
Wages
and
have gone up.
they have to be competitive with the rest of the market if they want
Absolutely.
good line workers and everything else, right? Linemen.
Absolutely, and we want to pay our people what's right.
Sure. Yeah. I think they, especially in this rural area, Cotton Electric, who I'm a member of, they're a great job, have great benefits, great place to work, for rural communities.
Yep.
Provide a good job. Or, Brad and I have talked about it too. Our rates, when you look at it on the national level, I think what is it, kilowatt rates? Is that how you say it?
Kilowatt
I
per
don't know
hour.
what,
Yeah.
12 to 14 cents. Is that like a good average? But the national average is 16 to 18 or something. Is that
Yes.
right? How's that compare?
We have pretty low rates compared to the rest of the country, particularly on your coastal states. It's a lot more expensive to have electricity rates there. And there's a lot of factors into that. But one of them is we have an abundant supply of natural resources here, whether it be wind or ability to access natural gas, or, we have a healthy regional transmission organization market here in the state. There's a variety of factors, but we have a very low cost of utilities compared to the rest of the country. And that's what's driving a lot of, and I know we're going to talk about it, but that's what drives a lot of data centers to want to be in the state of Oklahoma, is they have very
Lower
attractive energy rates and available land.
Right.
You need a lot of land. They need energy, and we have both of those.
Yeah, that was another thing we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
Some of the load demands that are coming. And since COVID, Texas is for sure growing, and Oklahoma has seen a lot of growth over the last 5 to 6 years, right?
Absolutely.
In our power demand.
Absolutely.
If you want to jump into data
Yeah,
centers,
let's do it.
Are you
Let's
sure?
do it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of team like, let's just talk about
Yeah.
it. I'm proud of the way we're handling it. I'm not ashamed of what we're doing, and I am more than happy to discuss data centers.
I think it's interesting. Most of us probably don't realize that every time we use our phone, every website we use, every database that keeps all of our information, every business, we used to all have servers in every business, or every entity had their own little servers in a loud little room somewhere. Well, now it's all in the cloud.
That's right.
The cloud is a data center, right?
That's right.
So it's a big storage facility for our data.
That's right.
So there's a major demand, and we create the demand for our data, right?
That's
to store it.
Yep. The cloud must physically exist somewhere.
Has to be somewhere, right?
Has to be somewhere. So I want to step back a few steps first to talk about all three of our G&Ts, as I mentioned, are building. They're building natural gas plants right now. None of that is because of data centers. All of that was because of what we call native load increases, or increases that we saw we were going to need for a variety of reasons. First of all, there's the electrification of households. People are going from wood heat or gas heat to electric heaters. That's caused a huge increase in demand for us. You have electric cars that are becoming more and more available, and people are using them. Everything now must be charged. My kids' toys are a good example. Everything has to be charged these days. So we were already seeing a boom in what we needed. Another problem that we saw is the retirement of generation facilities before their useful life was over. And that was due to certain executive orders that required that we shut down
Coal
particular units like coal. So you have an increased need, and then you have facilities that we were relying on and had planned for to be there that were closed down before their useful life was over. So we were already seeing this divergence of where were we going to get enough capacity to serve the load. So we started building. We planned this before a data center was even a word, because it takes so long to get all these facilities, to buy the land, to get the permission, to get the permits, all of these things.
Yeah, what is that, a 5-year process probably? Or
Minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then data centers happened. And it is load the likes of which we've never seen before. And I'll be clear, right now, the co-ops are not serving any data centers. And we are stepping through how we would serve one very carefully. Because we are owned by our members, because we have a board of directors that is from the community, we are probably more sensitive than any other utility in the state about what a data center would do to a community. And so, we have very carefully thought through what will the guardrails look like so that our members are in no way subsidizing a data center. And we have committed as a state for all of the co-ops that we will not serve a data center if it's going to cost our members anything. It can only be an advantage to our members cost-wise, not a disadvantage. And that's because we have to live in these communities. We have to, most of the people that work at the co-op pay the rates. They're members of the co-op as well. So we will not serve a data center unless it has either no impact or a positive impact financially for our members. So I want to make sure that's clear. But frankly, some of these data centers are so big, where a big load might be 50 megawatts, now we're talking about 1,000 megawatts, a gigawatt.
For a single
For
facility?
single facility, or 1.5 gigawatts. We have one that, we have rumors in the state, it's nothing where we are, but, it might be 2 gigawatts.
Wow.
That's a kind of load that's just unheard of. And, we've heard since 2020 we're in unprecedented times, and I think everybody's a little tired of that
Sure.
phrase, but we are in unprecedented times in the electricity world. And we are just being what some might consider overly cautious, but I think appropriately cautious in how we handle that. If we are going to serve something that big, it would require constructing more generation. And
Normally, the cost would be advanced to the members or customers to build a new generation facility. Is that the
it normally would, if it's going to be to serve those members on the daily normal increase that they would require. But we will require that a data center pays all those costs if that's what's needed.
if they require a big jump in power usage, then they're going to have to pay the new construction
That's right.
upfront investment?
That's right. And the transmission costs, even to talk to us, to have us look at your plans, we require you pay for people's time to do
Sure.
that. We don't want any impact on our members whatsoever.
Seems fair.
We're trying to do it in the most fair way. If there's an economic benefit to our members, we want to act prudently and take advantage of that if we can, but only if it makes sense for the community in which that data center would be.
Sure. Yeah. A lot of people are worried about the water, which isn't necessarily, on y'all's radar, but, I think technology will change.
Yeah.
They'll probably have a smaller footprint in the long run. They won't use as much water. And then if there's, we've had legislation we were talking about before we started recording, if they have the ability to maybe generate their own power or, take some of that burden back off the ratepayers up front, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But the demand for data is just like the demand for electricity. We all use it, and with AI and everything else, we're using more and more data. So we either have to offshore the data centers or we onshore them where we can, like President Trump, I think, wants to onshore the data centers so that we can protect it and regulate it. But we have to have it. Demand is there.
We do. I mean, it's coming somewhere.
Yeah.
We just have to decide how do we do it in a way that best protects our members and benefits our members where
Sure.
we can.
Yeah, in rural communities, we don't want a big, ugly building,
Sure.
Taking over our good farm ground and our pretty places that we love to see. And
Absolutely.
I get it. I don't either, but also you got to put a power plant somewhere too,
That's right.
right? So you have environmental concerns with transmission lines and power plants, just like you would a data center.
Absolutely. The phrase is NIMBY, not in my backyard,
Right.
and that's used for data centers and that's used for power plants too. And
Oil and gas, same way. Everyone loves oil and gas because we love the jobs and we love cheap energy.
That's
We
right.
just don't want one in our backyard.
Right. And
Don't drill one in my backyard.
I get it. I look out the windows. It's
Yeah.
beautiful here. That is the benefit. We just have to do it. I think that's the advantage of being governed by locally, people within your community, because you know where's a good spot. If you have one, where's a good spot to put it, or just no, this isn't right for our community. It might be right for the neighbor next door.
Yeah. Well, as far as strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats to our power system, can you break those down for us? What you've already talked about a lot of the strengths,
Yep.
but what are the weaknesses and be having different co-ops and not investor owned? Can you kind of compare some of that
Sure.
stuff?
We really have the privilege of serving the rural areas, but that comes with some issues. For your cities, your municipalities, you're usually looking at our metric of measurement is meters per mile. So in the city, it's usually about 50 meters per mile. So you have a lot of density. In the IOUs, I think their average is about 20 meters per mile. Our co-ops average about 6 meters per mile.
Sure.
And for our smallest co-op, it's less than 2 meters per mile. So we have a lot less density. So that's a lot less people to spread costs over. We also have some of the most difficult terrain to deal with. You know, everything that Oklahoma can throw at us, we have it, whether that be from, the Broken Bow area where we have mountains to
Tall trees everywhere.
all the trees, huge tall trees, to out here where you might have a wildfire and then a tornado and then an ice storm all in within a 3-week time span. So we really see the gamut of everything Oklahoma has to offer. And that's both a strength and a weakness of what we have. But we have a lot less density than everybody else. And that is a thing that again goes into we work every day to try to make sure that our costs are not going to be a burden to our member. But it also allows us to be more innovative in the way we have to we have to be innovative. If we're going to survive in this world, we have to think creatively and innovatively. And one of the things we've done is think about what services can we provide to our members. And we now have 10 co-ops that provide broadband to our members. That,
Really?
again, areas that a for-profit broadband company's not going to serve. It doesn't make sense. The density is not there to make financial sense. But we said, you know what? That's what we do. We go into the areas that nobody else wants to do it, and we do it in a way that provides a service to our members. So we provide that, which, if you have a kid that's doing online classes, or you want to work from home, you want to work from here, you need good, reliable internet in this world anymore. So we really see it as a weakness, but also a strength, that we have to be innovative in the way that we approach our business model.
That's the only way we're going to stay in our rural areas, is if we have access to clean water, power, internet, and our schools and our even critical healthcare.
Yes,
That's a big deal in small towns.
absolutely.
Well, as far as like threats to our system, we hear about cybersecurity, and we hear about foreign entities buying land next to power plants and military bases. What are the threats to our electrical system?
Well, cybersecurity is always a threat that we're absolutely attuned to on a day-to-day basis. I think that threat can't be overstated. Our folks will tell you that they prevent attacks on their system all the time, but that's what we're here to do. And it's nothing new. It's nothing that has just started, but it is something that we spend a lot of time, energy, effort, and unfortunately money to try to prevent. So cybersecurity is always a risk that we'll be absolutely attuned to. There's been some legislation that has come out that talks about having certain pieces of equipment only allowed from certain countries, which is good. That's a good thing. We need to make sure that our equipment doesn't have spyware in it,
Sure.
but that makes it more expensive.
Sure. Now, we all want made in America, but makes it a little more expensive.
It makes it a little more expensive. And so, that's that delicate balancing act we're talking about. Load growth we've talked about it a little bit, but that's another issue that is a threat. How are we going to serve everything that we want to serve, even if it's, new neighborhoods, if we can't get a pad mount transformer to build that subdivision? How are we going to do that in a cost-effective way and then data centers layered on top of that. So all of the load growth is another issue that we grapple with on a daily basis. And then another thing we really deal with a lot in the rural areas is staffing.
Yeah.
I recently spoke to the CEO of Western Farmers, the generation transmission cooperative in the western part of the state, and he said staffing is the issue that keeps him up at night, maybe more than anything, because trying to attract, we want the best people, and trying to attract and retain the best people in small towns is getting more and more difficult. There's a lot of flight to the cities.
Sure. Is Western Farmers based in Anadarko?
They have an office in Anadarko, and then they recently opened an office in Moore for that reason.
Okay.
Because
of staffing.
because of staffing, because they could get more engineers and accountants and those kinds of people closer to the city.
Cotton Electric in Walters, Oklahoma. I don't even know if Walters has 1,000 people.
That's right.
So they pull from Lawton, Duncan. A lot of people commute to Walters.
Yep.
I know it's hard for them to keep the headquarters in Walters for that reason.
That's
staffing.
right. That's right. Exactly. So such staffing is an issue that, and we have the great wave of retirement coming up
Sure.
as happening and will continue to happen. I took over from a man that retired that was there for 14 years and did a fantastic, wonderful job. And I'm so fortunate to follow him. But that wave, we're in the middle of it right now, and we're seeing turnover at a really high rate. So we believe the rural communities are a great place to live, and we hope that we can continue to attract people to do that, because we really do want the best to serve our members.
Yeah. Same here. That's a struggle for any business.
Yeah.
To grow. Like in Duncan, we have Halliburton Energy Services that
Yeah.
started here. Same thing. It's hard to get the best and the brightest in the world to move to Duncan, Oklahoma.
Yep.
We don't exactly have the cultural diversification to bring in all these people from, so it's the same way. Skilled workforce, qualified people that can work.
Yep.
They're dealing with those. So what does the association do for all the cooperatives? What is y'all's main role between all of them? I don't know if you covered that as far as policy. Y'all do a lot of that work, right?
We do. Yeah, we provide a lot of services to our co-ops. We tried to provide the services that would not be economical for them to provide themselves. Then we consolidate it, and we're in Oklahoma City. We provide lobbying, both state and federal lobbying. We like to say we were born of the legislature and we could die of the legislature. And so we have to be very cognizant of any law that passes, that it doesn't affect our members or create a burden or a cost to our members that that would affect their rates and make them go up because of red tape. We provide a lot of other services, though. We have a fantastic communications team that helps our folks communicate to their members. We have a magazine that every member receives, Oklahoma Living, and we have that,
Okay.
produce that magazine in our office. That's multinational award winning. We're very proud of it. We have a credit union for all co-op employees that they can participate in. We provide training, all the safety training for the linemen in the state.
Really?
So they
Okay.
come to our offices to do the safety training. Then they can get the best, most recent practices and learn from one another. We also provide training for board members so that they know how to be the best kind of board member, learn all about rates and the industry as a whole and the trends in the industry. So they can be good board members. We provide training for co-op accountants, for HR staff, for
Oh, okay.
let's see, I'm trying to think what else. And we're lawyers, co-op lawyers. So, we provide a lot of different services that would not, if you're in Hollis, Oklahoma, I mean, you may not want a full-time communications person, but you can, we'll provide whatever services you might need.
Okay.
Or help you with additional services. So we try to be the unifying voice of all of the co-ops and represent them on a state and national scale, and also provide any services, be a gap filler for anything they might be missing.
That's good. How many people work for the association?
We have 23.
23 people.
Yeah.
Okay. And based in Oklahoma City.
That's right.
And then what if someone wanted to contact the association or have any questions or look you guys up? What's the contact information, website and stuff?
Sure. Yeah, we're oaec.coop, so .coop, and we're we are more than happy to talk to anybody about. We're proud of what we do, so it's not one of those where we're scared to talk to folks. We're happy to talk to them, and in fact, my personal cell phone number is 417-839-1809. I'll take any call anytime to talk about what we do and why we do it and how proud we are of what we do. But we are more than happy and more than available to talk about the co-op. You might get your ear talked off,
Sure.
but
Yeah, hey,
we'd
it's
be
good.
happy to talk anytime.
Most of us don't see the behind the scenes, what goes on, and
Yeah.
the people behind that either. So it's good. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So can we talk about you personally for a minute?
Sure.
So what motivates you personally? Or is this a male dominated business that you're in? And well, you talked about a little bit about your motivation for going into this industry. So what kind of things were you looking for when you decided the challenges?
Well, to be honest, I didn't go to law school thinking, gosh, I really want to work at a co-op statewide organization. I didn't know what that was. I grew up on co-op lines. I grew up on a town that had both a distribution co-op and a G&T in the small little town. Still not a clue what it meant or what it was. I have probably the luckiest person I know, and every opportunity that I've had has fallen into my lap like a true gift from God. And I am so fortunate. But my love for this industry began because I saw what people do every day to help people. And I thought, you get one life. And do I want to spend that life worrying about what my shareholder thinks, or worrying about, am I providing the type of life for other people that I had growing up? And I often say I grew up in Pleasantville. The small town life was amazing. My dad was a teacher's aide and a school bus driver. So he was never anything big or fancy. He wore overalls every day of his life. I was a homecoming queen candidate my sophomore year of high school, and my dad wore a suit, the suit he got married in.
No
And
kidding.
more people took pictures of my dad because he was in a suit than me.
They'd never seen him.
They'd never seen him in a suit before. It was everybody was so amazed. And when my dad passed away very suddenly in 2013, and it was a big shock. And when I looked out the window the next morning, there was food on the front door. The pastor was there, and someone was mowing my mom's lawn.
Really?
And that is rural America to
Yeah.
me, and that is worth protecting
Sure.
at whatever the cost. And I thought to myself, I want to spend my life protecting that. I want to spend my life ensuring that my kids get that in the future, and other kids across the state of Oklahoma are able to experience that kind of community, that kind of belonging.
Yeah.
That
Neighbors
I felt.
helping neighbors. and
Neighbors helping neighbors. That's what it's
what we're
about.
called to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really my motivation. I have two sons. They're 8 and almost 5, and what their future looks like is deeply important to me. And I only hope that they have that kind of belonging like I felt. As far as it being a male-dominated industry, yes, it has always been a male-dominated
Sure.
industry. I've often been the only woman in the room. But I think, honestly, that's been a real advantage for me. Women communicate differently, and it takes all those different voices and all those different skills to get somewhere. And the gentlemen in this industry have been some of the finest people I have ever been around, and I have always felt welcomed and valued and treated as though when I was younger a daughter, and now as an equal. So while I have often been the youngest and the only woman, I have nothing but wonderful things to say about how I've been treated. And even back 12 years ago now, when I took over a trade association, I was barely 30, and I had an all-male board that chose me, and I was so lucky they put their trust in me. I was so lucky that and honored that I was able to fulfill that role. And then again, I'm the first woman CEO of OAEC. And how lucky am I to get to fulfill that duty? So it's really, it's been wonderful. It's been a wonderful career full of really good people we're all here for the same mission. We're all here to make people's lives better. So I just feel like the luckiest person in the world every day.
Well, hard work and effort meet luck. Right? Is that
That's true.
kind of how it goes?
That's
Well, how do you
true.
balance being a working mother, and how do you get the kids to school and be everywhere you got to be and pick them up? And
Ann and I, my communications person, we're just talking about this and trying to juggle it all. And my husband works a very full-time job as well. First of all, I have a lot of help, which again, everybody needs a community, and
Sure.
and I have a deep one, and I'm
Takes a
very
village.
yes, it takes a village for sure. My mom is a huge help to me, which is very fortunate. But I also have very understanding board members. I try as much as I can when I'm not out of town to drop my kids off at school every day. I drop them off
Gotta
at
do
8,
that.
and then I go to the office. We work in an industry that's very family focused and very family friendly, and that has been a real game changer for me, and how they insist that I go to my kids' soccer games and t-ball games, and that work will be waiting for me. So I've been very fortunate. I know everybody's not that lucky. But the other thing is I am the queen of
Are
multitasking.
you?
I multitask everything. And it's just what you have to do at this phase of life. And that's kind of the way it is. But, I live my life by the saying of never, ever, 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 ever give up, ever. No is not the answer. No is the pivot point. And if something isn't working, I am stubborn to a fault. My husband can tell you that, and we will figure out how to do something if I want to do it. Move mountains if we have to, but we will make it happen.
Yeah.
So I've been very fortunate.
Well, that kind of leads to my next question. What's your best practices? I mean, obviously you're very motivated, and you must have worked hard to get in law school and through this process. So what's your best practices for a young woman or a young person what's good habits to create? What's your best advice on that?
My dad always used to tell me it's not about what you know, but who you know. And I think that's probably the best advice I've ever been given. I worked hard. I learned as much as I could, but it was who I knew that put me in the positions that I've been in. You know, I've done I'm a strong believer in internships. I'm a strong believer of getting experience doing what you think you might want to do. I started working at a law office when I was in the 6th grade, volunteering because I thought I wanted to go to law school and I needed to figure out what was going on. And then that relationship with that hometown lawyer led me to a college job and led me to helping in her political campaign, which kind of opened my eyes to politics. And that relationship led to another, to another, to another. So I think if you're a young person, how can you get involved? How can you volunteer for a campaign to meet the influential people in your community? Or if you think you might want to be a specific career, you might want to be a lineman. Can you call your co-op and go shadow a lineman for a day? See what they do. See if it's actually what you think you might. Because that junior lineman you meet today might be the foreman in
Sure.
10 years. And now you have a relationship with them. So going out, meeting people, building relationships, volunteering for the crappy work. I'll clean your fridge.
Yeah.
Just let me in the door. Let me see what you do. Being eager has gone so much further in life than I could ever have imagined.
I think that's a good point. These days, we stay isolated to our phones, and I worry about the next generations coming up because they just communicate through phones, and they've lost or they're not learning some soft skills of just how to talk to someone, how to ask questions, and like you said, your net worth is your network.
Absolutely.
Right? You're exactly right on that. It is who you know, especially in business and politics. And you kind of mentioned going to work for that law firm or that lawyer. Do you have mentors? Do you have any that in particular that You remember?
Yes, she was a huge mentor, still is a huge mentor to me. Her name's Cynthia Black, and she's in Marshville, Missouri, my hometown. And she is, at the time, she had young children and she was juggling it all as well, and was really a great mentor to me growing up. Another mentor would really be a guy named Jim McDonald, who was one of my first bosses when I worked for the Department of Energy. And he showed me what it was to be a good boss. He deeply cared about his employees, about their, not just how they performed at work, but their mental and physical well-being as humans, and treated everybody as if they all brought inherent worth to the job. So he was another huge mentor of mine that I really appreciate to this day.
Yeah. Do you have books that you read, or how's your faith feed into your everyday life, or do you have any good books or anything that you?
Well, right now, I'm reading a lot of, the Magic School Bus and
As a kids, or?
because of my kids,
Yeah.
yeah. Then we're reading the Harry Potter series. But I think, growing up, I read, I'm such a nerd, a lot of presidential biographies.
Really?
That's kind of,
Interesting.
yeah, that's kind of my hidden love of books is presidential biographies, because these are the people that climbed the ladder. They got to the pinnacle, and how did they do it, and why did they do it, and what motivated them to get there?
There's only been, what, 45, 46
I
now?
think
Yeah.
46. And they're all so different, and they all led the country through such different trying times. And everybody said, what unprecedented times
Right.
that president was leading the country through. And that really resonates with me today. It's always going to be something.
Sure.
It's always going to be something, and it's how you react to that. It's how you lead it through. So I've read almost every president's
Wow.
biography so far, when I've had time, which is not that often
Not
right
that
now,
often,
but
yeah.
we'll get there. As far as faith, you know, again, I am lucky and I am blessed. God has blessed me beyond my wildest imagination. Every time you start to think, well, maybe he's kind of ignoring me, he does something that proves that he's on my side. And I've just been so fortunate, and I thank God every day for where I am and the family that I have. My two children are truly the biggest demonstration of the goodness of God when I look at them. And my career it has been nothing but a blessing to me. So I think I am lucky enough to embody the blessings that God has given on me every day in my life. And I try to never take them for granted. I am so fortunate. And I'm so grateful.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you just wanted to serve people and make their lives better, and that's the whole point. The more you give, the more you get.
That's right.
Your blessings come back to you and stuff.
That's right.
Well, what do y'all do for fun?
Oh gosh, get muddy.
Yeah.
My kids
kids.
are rough and tumble outside guys. My husband grew up in Veneta, Oklahoma, so we have gone to Grand Lake for forever. In the summers, we try to go to the lake as much as possible. It's I don't get great cell signal in the middle of the lake, which
good thing.
is really nice. I really enjoy that. But we're fishing or floating, or in the fall and the winter, pretty much every weekend we have a fire in the backyard, or we're riding a UTV around, or just anything we can do outside. I really want to foster that love of the outside for my kids, and it's how I grew up, and it's how my husband grew up on a dairy farm, and I hope that's how my kids grow up. But we are outside all the time.
That's good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, where's your favorite place to eat?
Oh, gosh. Again, you'll laugh at me. I have very sophisticated tastes. Probably Taco Casa.
Nice. Yeah.
I
Because you're always on the road.
I am
Is
always
that
on the
your
road, and
go-to?
it tastes like Taco Bell when I was a kid,
It's kind of high class
it's-
fast food.
That's
right.
right, exactly. I'm very high class. It's nice to go to a very fancy place every once in a while, but I'd rather be in my pajamas sitting at my kitchen table with my kids eating tacos. That sounds like a little slice of heaven to me.
Yeah, you probably don't get to do it. You probably travel a lot.
I
The
do,
more you
yeah.
get to spend. That's good.
Yep.
Well, did we forget anything that you wanted to add? I think we covered just about everything, didn't we?
I think we did. I just want to add, I talk to the CEOs of the co-ops around this state all the time, and I just want to make sure people know if you're a member of a co-op, your CEO is thinking about you every day and the effects of what we do every single day. And we are honored to get to serve the people of Oklahoma, and we are actively working to try to make the communities a better place. And if you ever have a question about your co-op, if you just want to pop in and talk to somebody, you're more than welcome. You can call the CEO, and they're gonna sit down and have a conversation with you. If you have questions, let's go to coffee. We are different. We are a part of the community, and anytime you are welcome at a co-op, and we will sit down and have a conversation with you, and we'll answer honestly and truthfully any question you might ask us.
That's a good point. Being member owned, and would you encourage people to go to their annual meetings and get to know their local,
Absolutely.
called a district rep, right? Or
That's right.
district,
That's right. A district representative.
okay,
Yep. Yes,
They have
please.
district, I think Cotton Electric, my district, we have meetings.
You do.
I think district meetings.
You do. Yeah. Some of the co-ops have district meetings, and then every co-op has an annual meeting, either in person or a drive-through meeting. I would highly encourage you to go to those. I try to go to all of them, and they have so much information, and then usually a lot of giveaways too.
Yeah.
Which is always great. But anything you might have any curiosity about, they're going to touch on at the annual meeting, and if they don't, just show up.
Show up.
Just show up, but be involved. And if you want a seat at the board of directors table, run. This is what it's for. You're a member, and you have every right to be at the table as much as anybody else. And your voice is appreciated, and anybody's qualified. Anybody's qualified to do it. And we want our members' voices to help lead the co-op.
That's good. Well, I sure appreciate you sitting down with me, Nikki.
Absolutely.
I learned a lot, and I hope everyone else learned a lot. So thank you very much. And if you guys have anything else, remind us how to reach you again.
Sure. Our website is oaec.coop, or my personal cell phone is 417-839-1809, and we'll help you with anything you might want to know.
Awesome, Nikki. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hope y'all enjoyed this one, and we'll see you on the next episode.